Over 15,000 years ago, the first people walked to the North American continent by crossing the Beringia Land Bridge. The Beringia Land Bridge was an area between modern-day Russia and Alaska. When the last ice age ended, the land bridge began to flood. It disappeared, causing travelers to be trapped on a continent alone. These settlers had to thrive in this new world. Unlike their cousins in Asia, Europe, and in the Middle East, they did not create civilizations. These people created tribes and built communities around family and tradition. Thousands of years later, after the American Civil War, tribes were forced out of their homes because gold was discovered on their land. One tribal leader put his foot down and made his stand to protect his home, his people, and his earth from the foreign invaders. And his name was Sitting Bull. The Lakota, or the Teton Sioux, were a Native American Plains tribe that did not have a permanent home. They were a free people traveling all over the North American continent before European settlers landed in the New World. The Lakota traveled as far east as the Ohio Valley and then slowly moved back west. North and South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin were the Lakota's final regions. Hunting buffalo was a part of their culture and was used as a training method to changing boys into men. Boys would also need to become spiritual at the age of 12 and would be cast into the wild. During that time, the boys would need to find a native spirit and use that spirit's signs as a method of survival. After 4 days, he would return to the tribe to discuss his findings with the Holy Man, also known as the Medicine Man. He told the Holy Man everything that he had heard, seen, and felt in his dreams. The Medicine Man then would decide what the boy's spirit was. To conclude the ritual, the boy must adopt his spirit and carry him throughout his life. Honoring them was recognized by painting the spirit on their shields and teepees. The Lakota would meet and have a grand feast congratulating the boys and thus starting their new lives as men. Sitting Bull was born in 1831. This was not his birth name, but it was later given to him by his tribe. He would receive the name after participating in a raiding party with his father. The Crows were enemies to the Lakota, and they attacked the rival tribe. Crow tribe members were caught off guard, and the Sioux warriors became victorious, receiving the Crows' horses. In the process, Jumping Badger performed a counting coup. Using a coup stick, he rode up to the Crow warrior and hit him on the head, bringing shame and dishonor to the Crow warrior. When Jumping Badger returned home, his father gave him a new name, Sitting Bull, for his bravery in the raid. Sitting Bull means buffalo who sets himself to watch over the herd. The herd was not just the buffalo they hunted, but the tribe itself. During the American Civil War, America needed land for settlers, so they came up with an idea to give land to the poor and newly freed slaves. This land was bought by the United States government, and the government needed that land to be tamed quickly. Thousands of settlers traveled to the west and obtained land for their families.
A settler's claim would result in 160 acres of land for a maximum filing fee of $18.
For the next 5 years, the General Land Office looked for a good faith effort by the homesteaders. This meant that the homestead was their primary residence and that they made improvements upon the land. After 5 years, the homesteader could file for his patent or deed of title. The majority of land that was up for grabs was in Colorado, Montana, Nebraska, and North Dakota. This resulted in 4 million homestead claims, although 1.6 million deeds in 30 states were actually officially obtained. Sitting Bull would lead the Sioux warriors to triumph in battle, but his land was slowly being eaten away. His tribe would stay in the Black Hills for safety, but tensions would still persist. Bad luck for the Lakota tribe came once gold was discovered in the Black Hills. Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer was stationed at Fort Abraham Lincoln near Bismarck, North Dakota. Custer had to make sure that these claims of gold were true, so he went out and checked. His findings turned out to be accurate, and thousands of pioneers headed to the Black Hills. He was in a rough spot trying to protect prospectors from entering the Lakota's land, but the army was outnumbered. A deal was proposed to Sitting Bull and the Sioux people. The government would either lease the Black Hills at $400,000 per year or purchase the land for $6 million in 15 annual installments. The Indians rejected both offers. The council had failed. The tribe refused the deal because they wanted to keep their homeland. Custer had no more reinforcements to protect both sides, and President Grant sent word to stop protecting the Lakota on November 3, 1875. The natives would now have to relocate to the Sioux Reservation by January 31, 1876. If the Sioux did not leave, they would be deemed hostile. In the middle of winter, Sitting Bull decided to stay regardless of the government's orders. Sitting Bull was the wisest medical man the Sioux people had, even though he did not want to leave. He prepared for battle in a more suitable location. They left and moved towards Montana and combined forces with Crazy Horse and other Cheyenne tribesmen. Little Bighorn River was chosen for the battle. The natives made camp in the middle of the valley and had a fighting force of 1,200 warriors. On June 17th, the United States was held back by natives. Custer was in charge of the 7th Cavalry, which had a force of 600 men. 10 days later, Custer moved into the Little Bighorn Valley to engage with Sitting Bull. Crazy Horse was placed in charge to deter Custer. On June 25, 1876, Custer ordered a division of a regiment into 4 sections. The pack train with ammunition and supplies, 3 companies commanded by Captain Frederick Benteen, 3 companies commanded by Major Marcus Reno, and 5 companies commanded by Custer. Major Reno went down and crossed the river south of the tribe. Natives were caught off guard and quickly moved warriors into position. Major Reno suddenly became overwhelmed and was attacked from 2 different positions. He repositioned his companies with their backs to the river. Then Major Reno decided to move across the river to defend a hill. The U.S. troops took high ground and waited for reinforcements from Captain Benteen's command in the farther south. Custer moved north and tried to cut off the native reinforcements. He split his 5 commands, and 2 companies were ordered to help Reno in the south. Custer then advanced farther north with his 3 companies. Crazy Horse realized that Reno and Benteen's forces combined on the southern hill. He knew now that Custer was the weak link. Native warriors stopped pursuing Reno and Benteen's command. They pulled away and started to protect the village. Crazy Horse moved at lightning speed with his warriors and kept pushing Custer north. This split Custer off from his own command. The natives protecting the village pushed forward and attacked the 2 companies Custer sent to relieve Reno. Completely outnumbered, the companies held their ground, waiting for Reno and Benteen's assistance. Crazy Horse stopped pursuing Custer and crashed into the back battle line of the 2 companies left behind. They were circled, and the remaining men that were able to escape ran north to Custer. Remaining commanders in Custer's force ordered the U.S. soldiers to dismount from their horses and to hold the hill. Crazy Horse took advantage of this by circling around Custer. The U.S. soldiers were then ordered to kill their horses for cover. The onslaught persisted, and all of Custer's men, including Lieutenant George Armstrong Custer, died on the battlefield. He suffered gunshot wounds to the chest and head. This hill would be renamed Last Stand Hill. Days before, Sitting Bull told the tribesmen bad luck would come if the dead were robbed or mutilated. Unfortunately, the natives defied Sitting Bull's preachings and took what they wanted. The natives wanted to punish Custer's men and cut off their limbs. Additional pages showed dead soldiers, some naked, some half-stripped. Each page depicting the white dead showed severed arms, hands, legs, heads. These mutilations reflected the Indians' belief that an individual was condemned to have the body he brought with him to the afterlife. For the remainder of the battle, Reno and Benteen's forces held out until General Terry's reinforcements came to relieve them the next day. Even though Sitting Bull won the battle, he had to flee to Canada. When the death count was tallied up, 31 native warriors died to the Americans' 268. Land in Canada was not as prosperous as it was in America. Sitting Bull headed back and surrendered to the United States on July 18, 1881. He lived out the rest of his life on the reservation. He did have a little more luck and met Annie Oakley, joined the Wild West show, and started the Ghost Dance movement. This Ghost Dance movement painted a target on him. United States officials believed that he was going to flee the U.S. again, and U.S. agent James McLaughlin went out to place him under arrest. Sitting Bull's house was surrounded, and he defied orders. The Sioux people were livid and took up arms to attack the arresting force. A quarrel broke out, and 6 policemen were killed by the Lakota. In the process, the police killed Sitting Bull and 7 other Lakota. Sitting Bull suffered similar wounds to Custer, with a gunshot wounds to the chest and in the head. He died on December 15, 1890. Sitting Bull was one of the most influential Native American leaders in history. The Battle of Little Bighorn would become the most popular and studied military defeats in American history. Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children. Thank you for reaching the end of this lesson. Claude's history course covers famous people and events throughout world history. To stay up to date for free future uploads, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Comment down below which person or event you want to see covered next, and we will see you next time on Claude's history course.